The Australian Open final has once again proven to be a heartbreak for Aryna Sabalenka, tasting bitter defeat for the second straight year. It feels like history repeating itself after that Madison Keys match, stalling out right on the doorstep of a title that should, by all rights, be hers for the taking. We are looking at 4 straight finals appearances, starting with 2 glorious wins, but now followed by back-to-back crushing losses. If you actually pause and scrutinize the world rankings, you see Sabalenka sitting on the throne as number 1, looking miles ahead of the competition. When you dig into her statistics, you see a juggernaut who routinely dismantles her biggest adversaries at the major tour stops with overwhelming force. But the moment the Grand Slam lights turn on, a shadow of doubt seems to hover over her, leaving fans and pundits alike whispering about what actually goes wrong inside her head at the majors. She always seems to freeze just 1 inch from the finish line, exposing a rare kind of fragility we almost never see from her otherwise. That image of her burying her face in the towel after the Rybakina clash is a telltale sign that something deeper is just not clicking. That is exactly the mystery we need to unravel right here, Murciego, because everyone is asking the same question. What is the glitch that causes Sabalenka to stumble right at the gates of tennis immortality? Look, let's be real. It is not a tragedy. And frankly, every single woman on the tour would gladly trade places with her because she has mastered consistency. The numbers prove she is a machine who always goes deep into tournaments. The catch is that once you become a fixture in the finals, you still have to take that final, brutal step of actually lifting the trophy. So, naturally, we took a hard look at Sabalenka's track record in major finals, and she is sitting at 4 wins and 4 losses, which is honestly respectable. It is a solid stat line in a landscape that is incredibly competitive, even among the elite players at the very top. She is not losing to someone ranked number 70 or 80. She is falling to heavy hitters like Gauff or Rybakina, the absolute best in the game. Yet, we all feel she should be dominating because she possesses firepower the others simply lack, especially on hard courts, where we have seen matches like this latest one. Take, for instance, that 3-love lead in the third set. It felt like she just tossed it away. Not that she wanted to lose, obviously, but she let the moment slip through her fingers. She struggles to seize that advantage by the throat and use it to prove exactly why she holds the number 1 ranking. Because when push comes to shove, she is supposed to be the superior athlete. We have seen this movie before, scenes of pure frustration against Keys, and then that massive meltdown after losing to Gauff at Roland Garros. She storms into the press conference and says things she later regrets, often forgetting that the woman on the other side of the net played a hell of a match too. She handled herself with much more grace against Rybakina today. And in fact, the anger faded quickly, and she was very professional. But that nagging feeling remains. I had this in the bag, and I let her come back from the dead. So, why does this keep happening? Pinpointing a single reason is tough. We have to look at the emotional volatility as well as her decision-making in the heat of battle. Specifically, knowing how to safeguard a lead. Tactically, she sometimes still resembles a runaway train, failing to realize when she needs to manage the scoreboard instead of obsessing over her winner count. It is likely a cocktail of all these factors, but I truly want to believe she will eventually crack the code. She sits in an enviable position, sure, but we have to flag some of these finals with a yellow card because those are matches she had no business losing. This is a completely valid debate to have, especially when you consider that she essentially handed over the Roland Garros final on a silver platter. She could have beaten Madison Keys, and looking at today, blowing that 3-love lead in the third set is just baffling. This match gave me serious flashbacks to the Wimbledon semifinal against Anisimova, which felt like the exact same script playing out. When you are a breakup in a decider and dominating, you simply cannot approach the finish line the way Sabalenka repeatedly tries to. It circles back to your earlier point. Are you choosing the right strategy for the specific phase of the fight? You cannot play the same way when you are serving at 5-4 as you do when you are trailing 1-4 in the third set. You have to possess the tennis IQ to manage the situation and play the scoreboard. Sabalenka is always a bit of a coin toss. She is an offensive powerhouse who charges forward with a massive arsenal of shots, always hunting for the winner. But that is a high-wire act, and when your hands start shaking just a little more than usual, seeing yourself 2 or 3 games away from a major title, you need to be able to switch to a plan B. I believe that inability to adapt explains those 4 final results, because it is exactly as you have to ask yourself, how is it possible for her to be such a terrifying force of nature, absolutely crushing opponents in the early stages? Yet, the moment she steps onto that final court, I suspect every woman standing across the net just knows, deep down, they know Sabalenka is bound to crack the door open eventually, giving them a free pass to walk right in, because history repeats itself. It basically becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, a vicious cycle that just keeps spinning around and around, doesn't it? You end up sabotaging your own game, tripping over your own feet, and once the locker room smells that fear, it haunts you for every major tournament to come. That is a massive, critical flaw in the armor, right? When you are the world #1, but a coach can tell the 15th ranked underdog, just keep poking the bear, she will eventually self-destruct. It is baffling because, on paper, she holds all the cards when it comes to raw experience on the big stage. Look at that match against Rybakina. She was dominating 3-love right out of the gate. How is it that a player with just one major title from years ago handles the pressure cooker better than someone who virtually lives in the semifinals? It is especially bizarre seeing this happen to a competitor who has spent the last few seasons preaching to the press about her evolution, constantly claiming she wants to diversify her toolkit and grow her game. Sure, she will always be a power hitter who loves a quick 1-2 punch off the serve, but she insists she has a plan B. So why the sudden nerves? I believe she carries a heavy burden, almost a double-edged sword of destiny. She is viewed as the spiritual successor to Serena Williams, meaning she walked onto the tour with astronomically high expectations. The narrative is that if she is on form, she is unbeatable, simply due to her sheer physical presence. Between that serve, the explosive forehand, and her unwavering self-belief, she attacks every single ball, win or lose. But sometimes, full throttle is the wrong gear. You need to borrow a page from the opponent's playbook. You just have to say, I will return 4 shots, because I know she will blast the 5th one into the fences. She needs to master that patience, and while I respect how gracefully she handles losing, it drives me crazy that she refuses to adapt her tactics. It is about playing smarter, using your head more than your muscles. She should be leveraging all that accumulated veteran savvy to navigate the tough moments. I imagine she is more frustrated than anyone. The stats are not a total disaster, but losing 4 finals out of 8 majors is stinging. And to your point, Jose, it feels like these titles are slipping through her fingers simply because she lacks that street smarts or cunning edge. We are talking about dropping 4 deciding sets in the championship rounds. Every single loss came in the final set, which screams mental block, similar to Zverev's struggles with 5th sets on the men's tour. When you look at the record, playing 8 deciders and losing 7 of them is brutal. It goes beyond fitness. It is psychological paralysis when the finish line is in sight, but you just cannot cross it. After failing that many times, it becomes a mental scar, a heavy weight that Sabalenka absolutely has to shed. What shocks me is that she is usually a mental giant compared to the field, devouring opponents with her intensity. Her sheer aura intimidates everyone, yet she crumbles in these specific moments, though she is still young enough to rewrite that narrative. Now, shifting gears to talk about Rybakina. You always predict she will snag a major title every year, and you nailed it again, but this victory felt more assured than the last one. The reason I stuck to my guns was because of her momentum. Basing it on current form is tricky because finishing a season strong can be a curse. Just when you peak, the calendar forces a break. You get sent on vacation, forced to hit the reset button completely. Then you start from scratch with everyone else fresh and hungry, which usually kills momentum, but she actually managed to sustain it. Her warm-up tournament was shaky, but once she arrived here, she looked completely locked in and focused. She navigated some treacherous moments in every match. And even though the scoreboard looks clean with few dropped sets, she actually only dropped 1, yet we saw her fighting spirit tested, especially down 3-love today. I have to admit, Jose, I thought she was in deep trouble during that opening set. I was ready to write her off, but she showcased that incredible maturity again, proving she is built for these high-pressure stakes. And looking ahead, I remember telling you last year that she was destined for the #1 spot, She is a contender for every trophy, but claiming the top ranking requires a consistency she hasn't mastered yet. It means performing for 11 straight months without injuries, sleep issues, or jet lag, causing her to vanish during key parts of the tour. Yo, that right there is the ultimate showdown, the real test. Rybakina can dismantle you on hard courts, grass, anywhere. Clay might require the stars to align, but a player of her caliber, she is a permanent fixture. Maybe I am casting the net too wide with the top 5. Let's tighten it up. I am talking strictly top 3 elite. There is simply no reason for her to drop out of the top 3 with that kind of complete arsenal. Rybakina has the shots and the swagger. She is an imposing figure, and deep down, Sabalenka and Swiatek know she can take them out. All right, I want you guys to sound off in the comments below. What is your take on Sabalenka losing all these crucial finals? Did you see that reaction? Man, she does not just dislike losing, she absolutely despises it. Why do you think Sabalenka freezes up right at the finish line? She is usually a beast, but then she just stalls when it counts. I want to hear your theories. Catch you on the next one. Later.